Welcome to the Cursed Archive. Case file number 006, The Surgeon's Scalpel. This archive concerns subtraction. We have seen objects that create a fatal narrative. This file is about an object that removes one. It is a case of erasure and a warning. A warning that when you create a void, you are never the only one who notices the space. This file begins with a sound, not a scream, not a word. It begins with the sound of emptiness. Log, day 27. I cannot recall her face. Pause. Whose pause? I do not remember why I am sad. There is only the sadness. It is a shape, an empty shape, but it is not alone. I can feel the other thing inside the space where she used to be. That was the final coherent recording of Dr. Aris Thorne. He was found 3 days later in his study. He was alive, but he was absent. His mind had been hollowed out. Dr. Thorne, a man of logic and science, had performed a perfect surgery. He had excised his grief, but in doing so, he created a doorway, and something that had been waiting for a very long time stepped through. The subject, Dr. Aris Thorne, 47, was a brilliant man, a medical historian. His life was defined by details, dates, facts, provenance. He was a man who believed that everything could be known, catalogued, and understood, until he lost the one detail that mattered. 6 months prior to his final recording, his wife, Ilara, was killed in a collision. A meaningless, senseless fact. And this one fact broke his mind. Grief is not logical. It cannot be catalogued, and Aris Thorne was drowning in it. His study, once his sanctuary, became his tomb. Every book, every photograph, every object was a memory, and every memory was an agony. His audio logs, which he kept for his work, became a confession of his pain. Log, day 18 of the grief. I woke up, and for a second, I forgot. I reached for her, and the coldness of the sheets. It was worse than the phone call. I cannot breathe. I cannot work. The past is a disease, and there is no cure. He sought distraction. He threw himself back into his work, acquisition, cataloging, control. He attended an auction, a private estate sale of a retired surgeon's collection, and there he found it. It was a 19th century surgical kit, circa 1880. Mahogany box, velvet lining, saws, clamps, hooks. But one piece was different. A scalpel. The handle was polished ebony. The blade was not steel. It was dull, obsidian, or dark glass, he could not tell. It looked perfect, unused, and it was cold. This is from his journal that night. I won the lot. The kit is magnificent, but the scalpel, it is an anomaly. It does not fit. It is older. When I held it, the next word is blotched, as if water fell on it. It vibrated. No, it thrummed, like a tuning fork that has just been struck. Dr. Thorne, a man of science, had just acquired a solution. He did not know it yet, but the object knew him. It recognized his disease, the past. This archive documents the tools that promise a cure, the objects that offer release. They are all lying. This warning is vital. If you believe this preservation is necessary, subscribe to the Cursed Archive. Your support is the only defense.
Dr. Thorne cleaned the kit. He was meticulous. He cataloged every piece, the bone saw, the forceps. He saved the scalpel for last. He took it to his study, the tomb, the room that was saturated with Elara. He sat at his desk. The scalpel was in his hand. The ebony was cold. He was not working. He was remembering. A memory had ambushed him. Elara at their wedding, her laugh, the sound of her laugh. This is from his audio log, the moment before the discovery. Log, day 184. He is weeping, a deep, hopeless sound. The sound. I can hear her laugh. It's so clear. It hurts. It hurts. I would give anything to make it stop. Just for a second. Just 1 second of peace. He gasped. A sob racked his body, and his hand jerked. The scalpel, which he had forgotten he was holding, slipped. The dull black blade dragged across the back of his left hand. He winced. He waited for the sting. He looked down, and nothing. This is log number 3, the discovery. The puzzlement in his voice is palpable. Log number 3. His weeping has stopped. That's strange. It cut me. I felt it, a freezing cold slice, but there is no blood. There is no mark. A long pause. The gears are turning. That's impossible. Another pause. A new, strange tone. I was crying. Why was I crying? I was thinking about something. The wedding. Elara. But He gasps. It is not a sob. It is shock. The sound. Her laugh. I can't remember it. I can see the photo. I know she laughed. But the memory, the sound, it's gone. He felt better. The agony that had been crushing his chest was lifted, not gone, but lighter. The sharpest edge of the grief had been blunted. He looked at the scalpel, and then he looked at the photograph of the hospital. The next memory that haunted him, the doctor's voice, the phone call. Dr. Aris Thorne, the historian, had discovered a tool that could edit his own history. He did not know that the scalpel belonged to another doctor, a surgeon from Berlin in 1880.
a man who had also tried to cut away his failures, a man who had cut too deep and had become trapped in the void he created, a parasite made of emptiness, waiting for a new room.
This is the longest part of the file, the descent. The 4,000-word catalog of a soul being unwritten. It was not a rush, it was an addiction, a slow, methodical self-mutilation. Dr. Thorne, the scientist, began his experiments. He believed he was in control. He called it grief excision therapy. This is log number 7, 1 week after the discovery. Quote, log number 7. The procedure is refined. The object requires focus. I am targeting the memory of the phone call, the voice of the ER doctor. It wakes me up every night. Okay. I am holding the scalpel. I am visualizing the memory. He grunts in pain as the memory hits. Now, I focus the pain into the blade, and I cut, and I cut. He gasps, a long, shuddering laugh of pure relief. It's gone. Oh God, it's gone. I know the call happened. It is a fact. But the emotion, the sound, the knife in my stomach, it is gone. I am free. He was not free. He was emptying the house. He did not realize he was inviting a new tenant. The void was growing, and it was getting noticed. Log number 12. His voice is flatter, less emotional, colder. Quote, log number 12. The therapy is working. I have excised 17 memories. The funeral, the smell of her perfume on the pillow, the day we brought home the dog, all excised. This is the longest part of the file, the descent, the 4,000-word catalog of a soul being unwritten. It was not a rush, it was an addiction, a slow, methodical self-mutilation. Dr. Thorne, the scientist, began his experiments. He believed he was in control. He called it grief excision therapy. This is log number 7, 1 week after the discovery. Log number 7. The procedure is refined. The object requires focus. I am targeting the memory of the phone call, the voice of the ER doctor. It wakes me up every night. Okay. I am holding the scalpel. I am visualizing the memory. He grunts in pain as the memory hits. Now, I focus the pain into the blade, and I cut. He gasps, a long, shuddering laugh of pure relief. It's gone. Oh God, it's gone. I know the call happened. It is a fact. But the emotion, the sound, the knife in my stomach, it is gone. I am free. He was not free. He was emptying the house. He did not realize he was inviting a new tenant. The void was growing, and it was getting noticed. Log number 12.
His voice is flatter, less emotional, colder. Log number 12. The therapy is working. I have excised 17 memories. The funeral, the smell of her perfume on the pillow, the day we brought home the dog, all excised. I sleep now, but, a slight pause, the dreams have changed. I no longer dream of Ilara. I dream of a room, a dark, empty room, and there is something in the corner, a shadow. The shadow was the surgeon, the parasite of Berlin. He was inspecting the new space, the voids that Aris was carving into his own soul. The surgeon was pleased. It was roomy. It was dark. It felt like home. Aris, in his cold logic, rationalized the dreams. A side effect. The grief is fighting back. He believed the solution was not to stop, but to cut deeper. He had to remove the source, the good memories, the ones that still caused the echo of pain. Log number 19. His voice is almost robotic. Log number 19. The shadow in the dream is larger. It is unacceptable. The grief must still be anchored. I have identified the primary anchor, the wedding day. It is the most painful, joyful memory. It must be excised. It is too dangerous. A long silence. I am looking at the wedding photo on my desk. She is beautiful. I am happy. I will miss this me. No, it is necessary. Focusing now. The vows, the kiss, the music. A long silence. Just room tone. Then Aris speaks. His voice is empty. Log number 19. Addendum. The procedure was successful. The wedding photo on my desk. I do not understand why I own this. She is a stranger. A pretty stranger. I feel nothing. It is peaceful. But outside his voice, the log recorded a new sound. A sound Aris did not hear. Faint, in the background. The surgeon was settling in. The void was almost complete. The shadow in his dreams was no longer in the corner. It was standing next to his bed. It was no longer a shadow. It had form. A tall man in 19th century surgical attire, holding a black scalpel, waiting patiently for the last piece of furniture to be removed.
The final act. Dr. Aris Thorne was almost empty, but he still felt something. A dull ache, a sadness with no source, a grief with no memory. He realized the entity in his dreams was feeding on this remnant. He had to remove the origin point, the very first memory, the day he met her, the anchor for all of it. He had to erase Ilara completely. This brings us to log number 27, the final cut, the final warning. Log, day 27.
It is always here now. The surgeon. He wants the last room. I must starve him. I must remove the source. The first memory. The cafe. The rain. The first time I saw her face. It is the last anchor. I must be free. Focusing. A long empty pause. I do not recall her face. Whose? A soft confusion. I do not remember why I am sad. There is only the sadness. It is a shape, an empty shape, but a terrified whisper. It is not alone. I can feel the other thing, inside the space where she used to be. He waited, terrified, empty, and then the log recorded the final sound. It was not Aris's voice. It used his throat, but it was not him. At last, a cruel chuckle. Room. When colleagues found Dr. Thorne, he was staring at the empty space on his desk. He was catatonic, alive, breathing, but utterly empty. The attending medic noted something strange. His arms, his hands, his face, they were covered in hundreds of tiny white lines, scars, as if he had been cut 1,000 times but never bled. The scalpel was clean. It was on the desk next to his hand. It was cold. Dr. Thorne is now a permanent resident of this archive. He sits in a room. He stares at the wall. He does not speak. But the doctors here report that sometimes he whispers one word in German. Platz. Room. Case file number 006. The surgeon's scalpel is closed. We have witnessed an object that erases, a void that invites a monster. But what if the object does not take, but gives? What if it forces you to feel a sin that is not yours? A guilt so powerful it demands a sacrifice. Which brings us to case file number 007, the penitent's rope.